So everybody's kind of familiar with the CAPTCHAs nowadays. And if we go to survey distribution tools, REDCap, so there used to be called a reCAPTCHA tool that has become native to REDCap. It was a module, now it's native to REDCap. And this allows you to add a CAPTCHA, a Google CAPTCHA, reCAPTCHA to your survey. So if you look here, like when I click on this survey, it just opens up for me. But if I enable this reCAPTCHA and I open it again, I get the, I'm not a robot, I got to click this. Now, one of the things with this is that, and let me click on this to give you some information. One of the things I noticed is that it says that a survey participant will never have to pass a reCAPTCHA test more than once per day on a given device computer. So we've had projects that have had the reCAPTCHA feature on, and somehow they still keep getting like bombarded with, tons of surveys, and they don't know if they're real or not. It's kind of an ongoing problem. It's not a big problem, but we do have a couple here and there that they notice that they're getting an influx of like bad data. And it could be that whoever's running this bot network or whatever, it just goes through the CAPTCHA once for the day, and then they're not bugged about it for the rest of the day. So that could be something. But so I'm gonna remove this. There's an external module that allows you to add an actual CAPTCHA to the survey and gives you some flexibility on how you want your CAPTCHA to be designed. So I'm going to go to the external modules here, and it's called nedCAPTCHA, and it's called nedCAPTCHA because NED, no external dependencies. So it's all contained. It's not like going to another site and having to grab that. So if that site's down, you're basically left hanging in the wind. So it's pretty simple. There is some configuration that you get to have, and mostly it's how your CAPTCHA is displayed, how complicated it is, and kind of what, how you're guiding the user to fill this thing out. So the default is math here. So if I just do the default, or if I leave it blank here, it's going to be math. So I'm just going to do math here. And then it gives you simple or complex. And on their documentation is really good, and it explains like what the different levels of these are. So like simple would be a math problem that, the solutions are never negative and it's a simple problem and it only uses addition. Whereas the complex math problems will include addition, subtraction, multiplication, and there could be more. There could be a combination of those. And then you also get to set the minimum and maximum values for that, for the operands in the math equation. And so you could get really complex with this. And let me just show you just the basic here for math. So it just says solve this math problem for you, and it gives you the answer, and you just have to put in 12 to get to the survey. So you could have that as a math thing. The ones that we've all seen are the distorted text images. You can set the length for these. I'm just going to leave it as 6. You can have it change. If they fail the first time, you can have it stay the same to give them a chance to answer it again, or you can have it change and generate a new challenge every time. So I'm just going to have keep the same here. You can set the rotation of the individual letters, so how wonky they are compared to each other. So I'll just do strong, and then the noise density, how much the weird lines, or how much it obscures the letters and that kind of thing, or if there's any noise. You can have it as off, you can have it low, medium, or high. So you can mess with these all you want. I'm just going to put medium, and then you can change the colors, which I really like, because you might get people who are colorblind, or you might get people who have poor vision, and so they need high contrast. And so you can separate the noise color from the text color from the background color. So I'm just going to leave these as defaults, but you can put in hex values or RGB values up here. And one of the, like, if you don't know anything about hex colors, there's a website called HTML Color Codes that I like to use, and it gives you, you just click on it and it gives you the RGB values or the hex value here. And so it's just an easy color picker that you can grab values from. So instead of you trying to figure out what a color should be, you can say, well, this is a really bright color, I can put this in for the text. This is a really light color, I can put this in for the background. There's ways to get values for this. It's pretty easy. And then finally, you have the introduction, so text that you have on the screen that gives them the instructions, the label for the CAPTCHA. You could even have like a custom button or the custom fail message text. So you've got some options in how you want to guide your users through this. I'm just going to leave all this stuff blank for now, and we'll just hit save. And if we go back to the demo form here, so now I have a CAPTCHA that I have to fill out, and let me put this in. And now I get to my form. So I'm interested in seeing if we put on the REDCAPTCHA, if it'll do both. So let's try that out. Yeah. So you could have an extra layer of security if you really want to protect your forms. Now, if I go back to the start over, so now you can see that if I open up the survey again, the Google REDCAPTCHA is like, you're good. You've already shown that you're a human. I don't need to worry about you anymore. So I didn't have to do that. But now I have to go back through the CAPTCHA again. So this could be something that would be worth adding to a project just to prevent people from accessing your survey, because they are public surveys. If you have a public survey, if you're not sending out alerts and notifications, if you are sending out alerts and notifications or private surveys, this might be overkill because you are already filtering out to single participants and everybody has a unique link. Nobody should be clicking on a link that doesn't belong to them, and it should be hidden in their email. But this would be something good for public surveys to help kind of weed out those bots and people who are having to fill out. Because I mean, you might get people who will literally just sit there all day and fill things out manually, and you're not really going to stop them from doing the CAPTCHA and getting access to your survey. But you are going to slow them down quite a bit because they're going to have to do this every time. Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you open up a project? I just want to show you one thing that I did as an example of, because, well, I'll explain if you'll show it. It's project 10857. And then just open up a survey, and I'll explain why I set it up like this. I was working with somebody that, it was difficult to tell the level of education of the people, and math seemed great. And, having those letters messed up and showing pictures and all that just gets to be such a pain. So anyway, this was really simple, and I could have made it a lot more complex, but it was just an example where it does the math for you in case you're so illiterate or something that you don't know how to add. And this way, all you had to do was enter the number that was showing up there, and it did the math for you, and then you'd enter that, and then you were able to move on. So it's just if you look at the configuration, it's very simple. And again, it's just, we have really had problems with people with bots, and I don't know how they bypassed, and I didn't even realize that about REDCAPTCHA. I'm glad you showed that, Manny, but this would be a nice option, not necessarily mine, but you know, using all the, if you found one that worked for you. But this is all I had to do was enter that label that said, please enter the number after the equal sign and put the math problem. And I could have set this to make this maximum and minimum, you know, more, but for demonstration for these people, I just wanted to show that. So it is a different option. It's a different way of going about that without having to worry about if somebody can do math.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you did do complex math, and I did, you know, 1 to 1,000, I believe it should still give them the answer. It's just more to type.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, it's really nice because that's what I was worried about when you're starting to get into, you know, complex math, multiplication and plus signs and, you know, subtraction and all that stuff. And some, like you see all those things on Facebook and online where people are like, what's this? And they give you like a poorly written out math problem. And there's like 15 million different answers that people, you know, don't understand, PEMDAS and all that stuff. And so you don't really want to rely on somebody's math skills to give them access.
Right.
So it is nice that it just gives you the answer. It's basically like, here, plug this in.
And I'm glad you showed this because I do want people to be aware that you should be using some form of reCAPTCHA or nedCAPTCHA on your public surveys just to prevent bots that are hitting there. We have just seen some, not many, I mean, just a handful, maybe 5 or 6 studies at the most, where people just got hit constantly, and they were able to tell because they'd look at the survey return date and time, and you could see it was like seconds after each other. And so somebody had to enter, I think, those things, and it was for projects that had were paying. So it was like $25 or something if you complete the survey or whatever. Anyway, it's those kind of projects that were getting hit. So just be aware if you're going to provide some kind of gift card or whatever for participating. I definitely recommend you use reCAPTCHA, nedCAPTCHA, something like that. That's it for me.
Yep, same here. Anybody have any questions? Comments?
All right, Dan, we just went over a minute. So thank you all for your patience. We will not be here next week because I won't be here next week, but we'll be back the week after that for the Red Zone. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good rest of the week. Goodbye.